Hello everyone and welcome back to the shop. Today got a quick update for you on my twin turbo vise. Now the first of 5 people who got this to try it out have made a video about it. So I wanted to respond to a couple things that were encountered. So before you watch this video, you should probably make sure that you've seen Kevin from krtwood's video on the installation of the twin turbo vise and some of the things he ran into. So go watch that wherever the link pops up first. And then come back to hear what I've got to say about it. Welcome back. Okay, first point. Kevin is unsure whether or not I'm selling my vise lining as a separate thing or I'm including it with the vise. And the answer is both. I'm actually going to be selling this before I sell the vise. It's understandably a little simpler just to get some inventory of the lining and sell that. It's really good stuff. I've been doing some testing and it's grippier than anything on the market. The price point's going to be decent, as I'll talk about later in the video. So I'm going to try to get that out for sale for anyone who wants to have a really good lining for their vise. And I'm also including it with the vise. So the purchase price of the vise will include 2 sheets of the rubber because I think that it's just a really smart thing to include on the vise to help with performance, and I want to make sure that everybody has good material if they spend the money on the whole vise. So it does come with the vise. So probably the most significant problem that Kevin ran into with the vise was this outside washer. On the vise I sent Kevin, well, that fell out, and you can see on mine it's not hanging on by a whole lot. It needs to be there to be a spacer between the front plate and the gear, but I've decided this is kind of a fundamentally not so great design, and I'm going to make a change. So what I'm going to do is have a through hole on the front plate of the vise, have the shaft of the 2 outside screws stick out just a little bit farther, and then have a flanged washer that is going to meet the flange on that washer will do the same spacing as the simple washer did in the previous design, but it also help align the shaft and couple it to the front plate and make the whole thing a little less prone to racking. So it's a design that's less prone to errors, that it's a little easier to put together. That washer's never going to fall out of place, and it makes the vise a little bit more rigid. So I think I'm going to go with this. So sorry about that, Kevin. And sorry to the other 4 people if you run into this issue. That's being a guinea pig, I guess. So the other issue, Kevin wanted to put center dog holes in his vise. Now you see on my bench, I only have dog holes on the sides. So center dog hole wasn't something I was really thinking about, and the bolt, this bolt that goes right here, goes to almost the back of the chop if you make it this thickness, and it was interfering with the center dog holes he wanted to place. So I could just tell people if they want a center dog hole, just make the chop an inch or an inch and a half thicker. It's not a particularly elegant way to solve the problem. It'd be pretty easy to just get rid of the 2 center bolts and have 4 bolts with the center left open so that area is free for a dog hole. But honestly, I just took the 2 center bolts out of my vise, and even with the plexiglass on the front, which is less rigid than the steel, yeah, it flexed a little bit, didn't affect performance in the least. So I might just be able to get rid of those 2 bolts and not even worry about it. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. I'm going to leave them off my vise for a while, just see if I run into anything. I don't anticipate any problems. It's rigidly held to the back plate and to the chop with other bolts, and they seem to be completely sufficient. So maybe I'll just get rid of them and nobody will have that issue. So, and lastly, Kevin makes a serious effort to try to convince me to do some kind of a handle for the vise that's similar to the Veritas, or even kind of similar to the Benchcrafted concept where I have the wheel. And the real advantage of this, well, there's a couple advantages. First of all, if it's what you're used to, you're just going to like it better, which isn't the case for me. I'm more used to a style like this. But if you're used to something like the Veritas or the Benchcrafted with the wheel, and you want something with a knob you can turn, that's what you're going to be more comfortable with, and some people are going to be in that boat. And there is a bit of a speed advantage because you're making a smaller circle than if you're making, if you're gripping the vise here and making a larger circle. So for me, the speed advantage of the extra gear set is more than enough to satisfy my need for a fast travel on the Vise. But it is a little bit extra speed if you can make a smaller circle, and it is what some people are used to. So I thought about this quite a bit, and I want to come up with something that's just an add-on. So you can buy the Vise just as is, like this design. But if you want that handle, you can have the functionality of putting this extra piece on. You can, and it allows you to have the handle in both the standard position with the full long torque arm, and it holds it rigidly in the middle with a knob that you can turn for a quicker rotation. So I came up with this. Now don't get too hung up on exactly what it looks like. This is just a concept prototype that I whipped up in an hour. But it worked, and it allows for that kind of functionality. It's an add-on piece. You don't change anything about the Vise. It can hold the handle in the center position for a quick rotation, or you can move the handle all the way to one side and have the longer torque arm if you need that for some operation. So this is kind of what I'm going with. That I'll have it as an option, an add-on that you can buy if you want, but you don't need to spend the money on it if it's not something you're interested in. Okay, next let's talk about price a little bit. A lot of people are asking me how much it's going to cost and when's it going to be available. We'll get to that too. As far as price, there's going to be 3 versions of this Vise. This version that you're seeing right here is 20-inch spacing between screws. I'm also going to have a 24-inch and a 14-inch to be more of a large non-racking front Vise, which I really like that concept. This bench is going to have the 20-inch and the 14-inch, by the way. And the prices for those, these aren't written in stone, but I'm thinking $300 for the big one, $280 for the 20-inch, and $260 for the 14-inch. These prices represent as lean a profit margin as I can possibly get away with, and boxes me into only doing direct sale. I'll never be able to cut a retailer in at these prices based on how much it costs to make the Vise. So really trying to keep it as affordable as possible if you just want to get in with base Vise. And remember, all 3 of those do include the 2 pieces of rubber. In addition to that, I'm thinking of doing a number of add-ons. Now, the clear front has been super popular. Kevin made his own clear front, as you saw from his video, and I should have anticipated this. It's fun to watch gears work. Products that have gears in them tend to go the route of having clear windows to watch the gears operate, like watches, for example. Lots of watches have a clear back so you can watch the gears. They're cool to watch. So I'm thinking of selling an optional add-on product for people that don't want to make their own, which you can certainly do, a clear front for all 3 sides of the Vise. And the prices there will be somewhere around the order of $55 to $45 for big to small versions of that clear front plate. And then in addition to that, I'll sell the lining separately for $55 and the center turn handle for $60. These are probably going to change a little bit, but that's what I'm targeting. This is my best guess for what prices will look like. And the prices for the add-ons, there's a little bit more profit margin in there for me, just to be frank. You can get the base Vise for just the cheapest price I can offer. If you want to do the add-ons, it costs a little bit extra as far as the markup that I'm taking, and I make a little bit more money on those. Just what I'm thinking for the retail model. Now, as far as when the Vise will be available, it's going to be a couple months still. I had mentioned that the economies of manufacturing scale, I need to make quite a few sales in order to really kick this off. And the people that got the Vises need to make their videos in order for me to get enough volume to actually sell enough Vises to get this going. I might be able to sell 40 or 50 on my own. I'm just kind of guessing here. But that's just not enough. I need to be in the hundreds in order to place an order big enough that my scale economies can, leave enough margin that I can buy a little bit extra and make a few more sales and really get this going. So, long story short, I'm kind of waiting on the people that I sent the 4 other Vises to get more interest going. And some of them are building workbenches specifically for the Vise, and that's not a fast process. So it'll take a little time. I'm moving as fast as I can. I will have the lining available quicker than that. So stay tuned for that piece. So that's about it. Again, make sure you check out KRT's video on the Vise installation and follow him on Instagram as well, where you can see him crush a plywood push stick with the Vise. Even though it's not really meant for crushing, it's meant for work holding. And if we're going to go toe-to-toe with other vices on crushing capability, this is going to lose. This is not built necessarily for crushing strength. Don't want to oversell it and make it something that it's not. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for your patience. I know there are a lot of people excited about this. I'm really doing my best to make it happen as quickly as possible. So wish me luck, and I'll see you next time.